Today, we begin our opening day prep with our predictions for some Mariners team awards coming up here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. This is Ty Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast, brought to you by PrizePicks. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedonmlb and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, that's all lowercase, for a first deposit match up to $100. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. Subscribe, like, and turn on alerts if you're watching on YouTube, or subscribe and leave a 5-star review on your preferred podcast platform if you like what you hear. And if you're part of the crew and rock with us every single day, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And if you want to hear from us even more, please consider signing up for our Patreon. You can now get a free 7-day trial to check out the show. The link, as well as our social accounts, is in the description of this episode. And today, we're doing our team award predictions for the 2024 Mariners. We've split these up into 5 categories: MVP, Cy Young, Reliever of the Year, Rookie of the Year, and Breakout Player. And we're going to start in reverse order here with Breakout Player. Colby, who is your Breakout Player for 2024?
Look, I know what everybody wants me to say because everybody and their mother is picking the same player, but I can think of no more worthless endeavor than selecting Dom Canzone to be the breakout player of the 2024 Mariners.
Oh, that's right. He did take him as his breakout player.
No originality if you're picking Dom Canzone. You just want to go with the herd. There's safety in numbers. But let me tell you something, people. This is the time to stand alone, separate yourself from the herd, rise above the rest, and take some shots. Yeah. Dom Canzone is the coward's answer. And if that is your answer, it is worthless. That being said, I get why
you've complete
like,
heel turn on Aaron Goldsmith.
I mean, maybe I'm about to pick Dom Canzone. Who knows? But no, okay. I'm not, because I'm not a follower, Ty. I follow the beat of my own drum. Is that how it goes?
That almost ended up really bad.
Yeah, it could have. I'm not picking Dom Canzone, and I'm not picking the safe alternatives like Bryce Miller or Brian Wu. No, Those are loser picks. Stand up, pound on your chest, throw your hand down on the table, and pick somebody who nobody's expecting. I'm taking Josh Rojas as my breakout player this year. 20 home run season coming from Josh Rojas. Who is going to be this year's JP Crawford? It's baseball is life. Joshy Rojas. Take it to the bank. Breakout player 2024. You're welcome.
Baseball is life. Yeah, I could take Brian Wu or Dom Canzone as well, but that's boring. Everyone's taking Brian Wu and Dom Canzone. Mostly Canzone. It's been a whole offseason of hearing about Canzone, and I think Canzone is going to have a good year. But I'm actually going to take who is, at least right now on paper, Josh Rojas's platoon partner over at third base, Luis Urias. Urias has been the recipient of some unwarranted hate, I would say, in the Mariners fan base this offseason. And I think that's mostly because he's not a Eugenio Suarez, right? Everyone loves Gino. They're sad that Gino's gone. And therefore, Urias, who is coming off of a down year, gets the brunt of that disappointment from the fan base, right? But you look back on Urias's 2023, he suffered multiple injuries. He gets traded mid-season. A lot of stop and start for him over the course of this past year. It's easy to look at 2023 and go, that's an outlier year, especially at 26 years old with all those injuries, right? We're not talking about a 32, 33-year-old who's on the tail end of his career, has suffered multiple Achilles injuries, for example. We're talking about a 26-year-old who's a former top prospect in the game, was coming off of back-to-back 2-win seasons this past year, and has a lot of talent. And we've seen some good things out of him offensively this spring. Now, the defense is a big question mark, especially with that shoulder injury. But I think Urias is at the very least going to prove people wrong offensively speaking. We'll see about the defense, but offensively speaking, I think he's going to prove some people wrong this season. And I think he's going to stick for the whole year. Who's going to be the rookie of the year, Colby?
See, I know that you people with the herd mentality think I'm going to take Samad Taylor or Ryan Bliss or Tyler Locklear. But I say no, because again, I think differently. I'm looking for this year's Jose Caballero, who arguably was last year's Rookie of the Year. He was right there with Wu. He was right there with Miller. So I'm looking for that guy, and I couldn't find him. So those guys tend to kind of come out of nowhere. And, you kind of look at what's actually coming up through the system this year. There's not a ton. There's really not a ton that is expected to make an impact. So you look at Bliss, he's a legitimate answer. Samad Taylor certainly has opened eyes this spring. Locklear, we'll see if he even gets a chance. Hopefully he doesn't. Not to try and downplay Tyler Locklear, but if you're counting on him at any point this year, you're in a little bit of trouble. So when you kind of look at who's all there, it's definitely not going to be Emerson Hancock. Who is going to come up? Who is going to be the Mariners Rookie of the Year? And the answer is so obvious. Barely maintaining his eligibility. Cade Marlowe, Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I expected it from you. You've become the Cade Marlowe guy.
To be fair, is there really anybody else? It's Bliss, it's Taylor, and it's Marlowe. Unless somebody comes way out of left field.
Technically, Tyson Miller fits in this category as well.
Oh, is Tyson Miller still rookie eligible? Really?
And that's my pick, actually. Because I'm trying
you got to confirm. I don't think
he only has 30 innings pitched. Needs 50.
I know, but isn't there like a days limit in the big leagues too? Like, is he still at less than a year service time?
You
know what? I'll allow it. I'll allow it. Semantics,
let me have it. Let me have it.
Fine,
yeah,
fine,
he's under a year. He's under a year.
There you go. Boom. There we go.
All right, cool. Confirmed. All right, so Tyson Miller is my pick, actually.
Nice, like it.
Because again, I'm trying to think of who's actually going to be on this team, right? Who has the clearest path to making this team? I think Tyson Miller is going to break camp with the team. I can't say that for Cade Marlowe or Ryan Bliss or Tyler Locklear, right? Marlowe's the second guy for me because outfield is kind of a question mark. If Dom Canzone doesn't work out, or maybe Luke Raley doesn't work out, or the Mitch Haniger injury happens, which is probably the most likely of the three scenarios that I laid out there. Unfortunately, it could very well be Marlowe. I'm just gonna go with Miller, who's actually going to make the team, who's going to be a part of this bullpen, and actually might get some high leverage usage depending on how things go over this first month with Gregory Santos and Matt Brash out for at least the first few weeks of the year. I think Miller can very well be Penn Murphy. I know like there's a lot of comparisons to Paul Sewald, right? Because of how similar they look in their deliveries.
Let's pump the brakes there.
But yeah, let's chill out on that. But can he be Penn Murphy? Maybe. And the Mariners have shown time and time again that they can develop guys that are like this, right? That are of the Tyson Miller ilk. There's no reason to think that Miller can't be another one of these guys that they develop into a solid mid-leverage reliever. And now I know that's not really exciting, but that's just kind of where the Mariners are at right now in 2024. This conversation will be a lot more interesting in 2025 when we can talk about Cole Young, when we talk about maybe Harry Ford.
By the way, guys, feel free to answer these down in the comments down below. My guess is that the overwhelming majority of people for these first two predictions are going to take Dom Canzone and Samad Taylor. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I like Samad Taylor a lot as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, again though, like, does Ryan Bliss overtake Samad Taylor? Is Sam Harrity ahead of Samad Taylor? There's still a lot of questions about just kind of like who gets those opportunities. When does that happen? Does that happen in general? So again, I'm honestly, I feel like Tyson Miller is just more like the safe bet. I feel like he's like the easy out here, even though he's not really that exciting, and obviously doesn't have the upside of like a Samad Taylor or Ryan Bliss.
Dude's like a 30-year-old rookie, so
28.
Okay.
I'm turning 28 this year. So you calling me old?
Yes.
That's true. I am an old man. Anyway, we're going to get into the best reliever, Cy Young, and MVP coming up here in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by PrizePicks. Football season may be over, but the action on the floor is heating up. Whether it's tournament season or the fight for playoff home court, there is no shortage of high stakes basketball moments this time of year. Get in on the excitement with PrizePicks, America's #1 fantasy sports app where you can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. Conference tournaments are here, which means the biggest moments in college basketball are getting closer. Be a part of the action on PrizePicks for both men's and women's college basketball. Tonight in the pros, I'm taking Mikal Bridges less than 18 points against the Pelicans, and Michael Porter Jr. more than 16.5 points against the Timberwolves. Download the app today and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That is promo code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you again for making us your first listen. And as you know, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel, Locked On Sports Today. Baseball fans, mark your calendars for March 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern for the best MLB season preview coming exclusively to Locked On Sports Today. On March 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern, be the first to get insight from the MLB local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network, including myself. Find it on March 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. So let's get back into our Mariners team award predictions. We've done breakout player, we've done rookie of the year. Now let's go to reliever of the year. And this conversation would be a lot more interesting if Matt Brash and Gregory Santos weren't hurt. Are you still considering those guys, even though that they are likely to miss the first month of the season, if not more?
Well, let me say this to all you sheep out there who are flocking quickly to Andres Munoz just because he's the healthy one. I am right there with you. It kind of has to be Munoz, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, just because we don't know if Brash or Santos are going to pitch now, it seems very likely that they're going to pitch at some point. And Jerry still, or well, last time we spoke to him, was confident that they would pitch in April. And so we'll see if they do. And can Brash and Santos, are they good enough to like make up that gap with they're going to miss a month, which is probably 8 to 10 appearances? Can they make up that gap with Munoz? Sure, they're talented enough to do it, but Munoz is a guy who's healthy now. He's was already going to be in the conversation regardless of the health of Brash and Santos. And I just don't see Gabe Spire taking a big enough leap. I don't know how much he's got left in the tank in terms of growth. And I still think there's another gear left to Munoz. So remember last year, he didn't really have his slider for long stretches. The hip was bothering him a little bit. So I think he's healthy. I think this could be a kind of a breakout season for him. He's already very good. We already know that, but I think we might see more consistency from him this year. I think the slider is going to come back. And again, he just has such a head start over everybody else in this bullpen. I don't think it would be like if I had to bet money on this stuff, like I don't think I could bet against Munoz. I don't think that's a smart bet. So I'm going to go with him. But this is the bullpen that gave us Topa and Spire last year. And they were arguably the second best reliever. One of those guys is arguably the second best reliever in this pen after Matt Brash last year. So, there are some dark horse candidates, but I'm going to go with Andres Munoz.
Yeah, and hey, maybe Santos comes back in the first few weeks, or Brash comes back in the first few weeks. As soon as they possibly can, and they have just an insane season from that point forward, and they still wind up being reliever of the year. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Munoz as well. And I mean, that's not a bad pick by any means, right? We're talking about one of the best relievers in all of baseball here in Andres Munoz. Who, I think that I agree with you. I think that slider is going to come back. I think he's going to use that two seamer a lot more. Which looked really good towards the end of the season. And I think he's going to have a great season this year. And there really isn't anything else to say other than that. Because again, we're talking about one of the best relievers in baseball. You know what you're going to get out of Andres Munoz. So that's my pick. There you go. All right. So Cy Young. I think this is a really interesting conversation here. The best Mariners starting pitcher in 2024. We're talking about the best rotation in all of baseball, arguably. I think it certainly is, especially with Ohtani not pitching for the Dodgers this year. So Logan Gilbert, Luis Castillo, George Kirby. Hell, I'll even throw Bryce Miller and Brian Wu in there. Who do you think is going to be the best starting pitcher for the Mariners in 2024?
So there's three legitimate answers here. I don't think you can honestly I don't think you could say Wu and Miller are there yet. We haven't seen anything different from Wu. Now it's spring training. I haven't actually seen him pitch this year. Thanks a lot at Mariners. And Miller, I think I saw one start of Miller. So, it's maybe something changes. Maybe it's something we don't know about, and they can take that next step forward. And I do think they'll both be better than they were last year, but they're not in the same realm as Castillo, Kirby, and Gilbert, all three of whom are top 10 on a lot of the sports books in terms of American League Cy Young award bets. So it's an interesting trio there. Last year we were both on the Kirby train. Were we a year too early? Perhaps. Castillo probably has the highest upside just because of his stuff of all of them. Kirby probably the highest floor because of the command. And then Logan is kind of the wild card here. But you know what? I like wild cards. I'm a Mariners fan. It's all I've got. So I'm taking Logan Gilbert, baby. Breakout Logan Gilbert, you're coming. Sub 3.3 ERA, above a strikeout per inning. I'm going to pump it up to 10 Ks per nine, less than 3 walks per nine, sub 3.5 FIP. 5-win season coming from Logan Gilbert, 200 innings, 33 starts. He will be the game one starter after the Mariners, of course, win the division and host the American League Division Series at T-Mobile Park against the Houston Astros.
I thought the bold predictions episode was next week, but all right.
Scratch all that. Logan Gilbert will be good.
All right. Love it. Love it. I considered Gilbert heavily because
you kind of have to. You have to consider all three. Like, there's no wrong answer here unless you're picking Miller or Wu. Then you're wrong.
Right. Like even if Wu and Miller take the next step this season, which they're very
still
well
like
might.
4 steps behind.
Right. It's
just like
your
big three,
and that's just that's nothing against those guys. It's just a testament to how good the Mariners top 3 guys are. Right. But yeah, I consider Gilbert because he was arguably the most consistent pitcher in the Mariners rotation this past year.
Mm-hmm.
And I still think there's an extra gear there that he can kick into. And I think he will this year. But I'm going to go with George Kirby. And it'll make more sense when we do our MLB predictions. Wink.
Wink. And as I was saying, if you guys go on FanDuel right now and you look at, the Cy Young odds, all three guys are pretty good bets. Logan Gilbert's probably the best bet. At last check, he was about plus 1,900. That's the guy I would put money on if you're legally allowed to gamble on sports.
That's right.
Please gamble responsibly. Blah, blah, blah. But no disrespect to Luis Castillo. It could easily be him as well. Like
hashtag not legal advice.
Yes. Hashtag not financial advice.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is an embarrassment of riches at the top of the Mariners rotation. It is very, very good.
We're going to get into our MVP discussion, which you'll see. We'll talk about this in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV and FanDuel. Fire TV is your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as a Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or the college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have a Fire TV as soon as possible. Fire TV also recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us here at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive into all the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on all the latest in the world of sports, from March Madness, NBA, MLB, and lots more. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, and cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. And if you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit Amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. Say goodbye to busted brackets, because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tourney. Whether you're betting on a big upset or a 1 seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn, that's LOCKDON, and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you again for making us your first listen. We have handed out our predictions for Mariners Cy Young, best reliever, best rookie, and breakout player in 2024. Now we are down to our final award prediction. That is MVP. Gee, I wonder who this is going to be. Colby?
When you talk about who is the most valuable player for the Seattle Mariners, you almost have to change the conversation entirely. It's really like, who's the second most valuable player on the Mariners? And that's who we're going to pick, because if we just said Julio Rodriguez, we would be done with the show now. And we still have 4 or 5 more minutes to go. So,
right. Yeah. So the
hands
answer
are
is
tied.
Julio. The answer is Julio. The Mariners will go as far as Julio will take them. We all know that. The more interesting conversation here is who's the second guy after Julio? Who's that runner up?
I think it's a 2-horse race for second place. It's possible that one of those pitchers that we talked about does have such a good year that he kind of forces his way into that conversation. But typically speaking, to me, most valuable player is an everyday guy. It has to be. You can't be the most valuable player and playing 35 games. You can't. That's just where my head's at. So it's not going to be one of the pitchers. I don't see, if you get first half Luke Raley, that's the answer. but
Sure.
You're not going to get first half Luke Raley. There's nobody else in that outfield. There's nobody in the infield. Ty France, even Ty France at his best doesn't challenge for this with just good Cal Raleigh and good JP Crawford. They're still not going to, France still isn't going to overtake them. So to me, it's got to be JP or it's got to be Cal, and I'm fine with either one. I think you can make a compelling case for both of them.
Yeah, I'm going to go Cal. Cal's an elite defender behind the plate, and gives you rare offensive output from that position as well. 30 home runs this past season. No one else did that. Left-handed Cal Raleigh is one of the most fun hitters to me. I just love watching left-handed Cal Raleigh swing the bat. It's a lot of fun. And I think he has the potential to be at least 1 year, maybe it's this year, to be a dark horse, dark horse MVP candidate. I think Cal Raleigh has a 6-win season in him.
Yep. I'd agree. I'll take JP just to split the difference.
Sure.
But it really is a toss up. The second place MVP vote and the Cy Young are by far the closest. You could legitimately pick, like I said, you could pick any of the 3 guys for the Cy Young. You could pick either of these guys for, the backup MVP, and totally justify it without, without even trying. Really, you could. So, it's a good problem to have, but at the end of the day, Julio is the most valuable player on this team, and he's the most important player on this team. And, he's one of the 5 most important players in all of baseball. So it's just not even worth the discussion. Can these guys challenge Julio? Probably not.
Yeah. Hopefully, though, this is the year that finally people on the national level put some damn respect on Cal Raleigh's name, because this is ridiculous. Some of the catchers that they're putting over him in these lists, insane. So this week, tomorrow, we got swing players, seesaw players, however you want to describe them. Basically, players who can swing the Mariners season in significantly in one direction or the other. So we're going to go over a few names on that episode. Then Thursday, we are going to be doing, let me bring it up here, over-unders. So I'm going to present some over-unders to Colby, get his thoughts on those. He's going to present some over-unders to me, get my thoughts on those, and we'll just go back and forth on that. And then Friday, we'll do our flag players, right? We'll do 5 each. Guys that we're planting our flag in, they're going to be our guys, some of whom we've already talked about today. And then next week, we'll have Mailbag Monday, as always. Tuesday, we'll have bold predictions for the Mariners, which you've heard a little bit of that today as well. Wednesday, we'll do MLB predictions. So league-wide, we're talking division winners, playoff teams, World Series, awards, MVP, Rookie of the Year, etc., all that. And then opening day, we are going to be giving you guys a game preview, because the game is regular nighttime start. I believe it's a 7:00 start time, I believe.
Yep.
So we'll probably drop that a little bit earlier than we usually drop our episodes, just so you guys have more time to watch that and get hyped for opening day. And also because Colby and I are going to be doing a live stream before the game. Not on here, not on the Locked On channel, probably on the True to the Trident channel. That's what it's called, right? Control the Zone channel.
Check your
Whatever.
socials and we'll
Yeah,
tweet it out and
check our
send it out
socials.
and all that.
We'll
Yeah,
we'll be hanging out there for, I don't know, an hour or two before
Yeah,
the game.
probably.
Just chatting with listeners. Maybe we'll get some people to swing on by or something like that. We'll see. So yeah, should be a fun time. So look forward to that. And that's going to do it for our show. So thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. But before we get out of here, a reminder that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Ty Dane Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Ty Dane Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. You can also find all that stuff in the description of this episode. Thank you again for making us your first listen. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.